Thank you.
Hi everyone, for those that haven't met me, my name's Simon. I'm the new bench specialist, so all the planning goes into this is run across my desk, but I'll be covering the bits and pieces on how to actually prepare and enter your award itself. So as Alexis touched on, we have a wide variety of categories and judging criteria, which you've got the booklets for there. I'm going to walk you guys through best practice as to how to actually go about submitting those entries for this year. So first and foremost, the first step that we recommend everyone do is actually start by going to the Awards Force platform, which the link is in the booklets. It'll also be on the event website, and it'll be in the digital version of the booklets you can download as well. If you have entered in previous years, the account will still be live, so you'll be able to, it'll recognize your email, and you can either go forgot password if you have, or use the old password. If you haven't done before, it'll ask you to create an account on entry. The reason we say that's your first step is because then you can go in and pick your category and figure out which one you want to start with, and then you can actually download the offline form, which gives you all the breakdown, so you can go away, prepare everything, come back to do the info. So you don't have to do it all in one hit when you start. So as I said, go and register on Awards Force. The first page you'll see, you'll be able to pick your category. It starts with the very broad strokes, so whether it's residential, commercial, civil, work health safety, all of those bits and pieces. I would suggest everybody read through the categories beforehand just to understand what options are available to everyone. We have done some work this year on refining and putting a bit more detail into which categories apply to different groups. So even if you have done it before, it's always worth just double checking there may be some other categories you're welcome to enter in for this year. Once you've selected the category, it'll pop down. You'll have an option at the bottom that says download offline form. Just as a hyperlink, you can click that, download that PDF. At that point, you can hit save entry. It'll then save it as an in-progress entry in the platform that you can come back to. You can take that document and prepare everything offline, essentially. So in that document, it'll have all of the relevant question sets. It'll give you the guides as to how many words we're looking for, what's the minimum word count, things like photos that are needed, all of that will be included in that form. So it's a very high level piece that you can then prepare on a Word document and go, okay, cool, here's question one, here's everything. Question two, line it all up, make sure you guys are happy with everything before you then come back and enter it online. Now, the big one that we've got in here is completing the project summary. Now, the reason we're pulling this one out particularly and highlighting for everyone is project summary is the first thing that the judges will see when they're understanding what your project is about. So obviously that's very important for first impressions on them, but also B, from our side of things, we use the project summary for all of our marketing as well as creation of content around the awards itself. So if you've ever been to the awards and when winner is announced and the voiceover reads a script describing the project, that has come from the project summary. So think about what's going into that, make sure that it is clear and concise for the judges so that it is very clear about what you've done, what's being appointed judge for that category, but also include details in there so that there is more that we can actually talk about it for you guys, so we can promote that. Because as you'll hear further on in the using this to leverage a bit more, we want to market for you guys about finals categories, winners, things like that. We will promote and wave the banner for you to go how great it is, but we can only do that so well as the information you guys provide to us. So that's why the project summary is a really important one for us. Then once you've done the project summary and the assessment details in the category, you'll come down to the page where you can upload photos, testimonials, plans, and supporting documents. Now, in the books, the entry guidelines we have highlighted for photos this year, but I will iterate for everyone here. It's important that the photos are of a high standard, because again, judges before they even go on site will be looking at those photos. B, we will be using those photos ourselves to promote as finalists, things like that. That's where the content comes from. So a high quality photo really helps the entry along in judging and marketing and everything like that. For team or company entries, we do really encourage having a team shot included in the entries, because then it allows us to promote as a supplier or subcontractor, things like that. We've got the team we can talk about, so it's not just the logo or a project shot, things like that. So those are all really important from the photo side of things. The other thing to note is, whilst photo editing is permitted in the sense of touch-ups from exposure, color, minor color correction, things like that, we will be on the lookout for altering of photos in regards to the subject matter that's being judged. So if you submit a photo that has, for instance, fixtures in the photo that aren't there in real life, when we go to judge, that'll be noted and could end up being a disqualification piece. So you can edit photos in regards to making the sky brighter, for instance, if it's an overcast day on the photo, or if they're from a display home perspective, if there's advertisement in the window, you can edit those sorts of things out. But from a, thinking at a house level perspective, don't go adding sconce lights if they're not there, or if the door is red in real life and they change it to black because it looks more aesthetically pleasing in the photo. That's the sort of thing that could potentially end up being a point of disqualification for the photography. We will have someone talking about that in a bit more detail shortly. But as I said, you can upload up to 15 photos per entry. We do ask that you have at least one hero shot, whether that be a project, company, supplier. That hero shot is the one that we will use predominantly for everything. So as I said, for companies and suppliers, things like that, hero shot would be a really good one with the team, for instance, in front of the big logo or something like that. For a project, you want to have that best angle, that best thing. That's the really proud shot moment. And then obviously testimonials for any of the nominations, things like that for individuals. That's where you'd upload those. There'll be customer reviews, individuals supporting the nomination, things like that. Plans where applicable, so obviously civil, they're a bit more relevant than, say, bathroom. We don't necessarily need to see a structural plan for bathroom, but we definitely do need to see it for a civil subdivision, for instance. That's where those go. And then any other supporting documents or videos that you think would be relevant to support the entry. So by videos, that can also include things like, for the civil categories, drone overflights, for instance, of giving a scale of the project, or before and after shots. We've seen entries where people have done a time lapse, a series of photos into a video, so they can go from greenfield to completed project. So that's all things that are not a must, but they are helpful if you have those assets available. It just helps tell the story of what the project is, so that we can, at judging, understand the whole scope of it, and also from a marketing perspective, tell that story for everybody. And then the last one, most importantly, is deadline for closure is the 15th of March, 5 p.m. That's a hard line. We can't push past that because we have to judge everything. All of those timelines roll on from there. So we recommend everybody jump in early, figure out which ones you want to do, pull it off. As I said, go and do it offline, but make sure you set in your calendars, say the Friday before closures, that you go in and actually make sure everything is submitted, everything is there correctly, you're happy with everything, and it has been finalized. We have had cases in the past where people have gone, oh, I've submitted everything, and they haven't actually hit the submit button. It's all sitting there in the system, but they haven't clicked submit to finalize the process. So make sure you give yourself enough time to just go through and check it, make sure it's all there before you hit submit, and make sure it's there before the deadline. So that's the process for entry. As I said, it's for those that have done it before, Launchforce is a very simple platform. For anyone that's going through it the first time, it's very follow the bouncing ball, the two tabs, follow, enter everything. The fields that are mandatory will not let you progress unless they're in there. There are drop downs for multiples. If you're doing multiple contributors, you can select those. It will then populate. If you don't need to, it's not a mandatory one. So if you're doing it on your own, it'll just go through without those sorts of things. So before we hand over to Cass to talk about photos and for your site, does anyone have any questions around entry piece? No?
something to note with submitting before the deadline is the week before the deadline, the platform is very busy.
Yes.
And we have had instances in the past that people have issued on the last day or two. So I think if you can submit, the earlier you can submit, the better, because that'll just help you avoid those issues.
Yeah.
Where's pressure?
Yeah. If the deadline, deadline's the 13th, set your internal deadline for a week earlier so that you are not going to run into those things of frantically trying to do something and the platform crashes and overloads. Just to be safe. But yeah, make sure you're aware of that. But no, all good. In that case, yes, get to come down and
All right, yeah.
jump on.